Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and this message, it reads like this. Hello, Brother Nashi, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? My brother, each and every day, I regret the things that I did. But in life, once you have achieved everything that you want in life, like material-wise, you think that you have it all. But wait until something bad happens to you, then you will know that the spirit world, indeed, it exists. So what happened to me, Brother Nash, is that when I was still back home in Zim, I was married to my husband, my late husband. So me and my husband, we were both doctors, but unfortunately he passed away. When he passed away because of a car accident, the way that he was snatched away from me, it was just too painful, because we were still a very young couple. Already we had 2 kids together, but we were still too young. We still had big dreams and big plans, a lot of things that we had planned together. As for my husband, he kept on telling me that when it will come for him to retire, the place that he wanted to retire at least was America, but he was snatched away from me when he was involved in that accident. What pains me the most is that when he was hit by this other truck, it seemed as if that trucker saw that the way that he had hit my husband's car, he was the one who was wrong. He was never found. There were those old big trucks, those long-nosed trucks. So even if that car would have a head-on with a small vehicle, there will be little damage on that big truck. This is what the police suspected. The man was never found. My husband, he died on the spot. There was no hope for him, because when he was hit by that truck, then his car flipped and rolled all over the place. They found him dead. When I was told that this is what had happened to my husband, I was really shocked. I didn't know what to do, because I had just came out of an operation. I started shaking, Brother Nashi. I had seen death before. I had seen people dying before. But the thought of losing my husband, it was just too much. I cried so much. Everyone around me tried to comfort me, but I knew that they were just comforting me. That is the biggest problem when you have gone through training whereby they train you to comfort other people. When it is time for you to receive some counseling, your mind, it acts in a very strange way, because when I was taken through therapy, when my colleague will be busy giving me counseling, I would actually respond to her and I would tell her that, are you using that chapter on me? So I was really scarred, Brother Nashi, by this thing. But I moved on with my life. I tried to be a strong woman, but I then told myself that to honor my husband, I was not going to date. Then there came that financial crash that happened in our country. It then forced me to move out. I applied to a lot of hospitals around the world. Then I got a job offer in one of the neighboring countries. I then left my own country and I came to where I am right now. When I came with a change of environment, I almost forgot about my husband. Here and there, when I would have some fun, I would remind myself that I had lost my husband. At the same hospital where I am working, I then met another man who is also a doctor, a sweet man, who promised me that he was going to give me a good life. And yes, he has managed to give me a good life. After we had started dating, this man, he then went with me back to my country. It was me and his uncles as well as his sisters. It was a beautiful day. After I had fallen pregnant, I then gave birth to my son. When I gave birth to my son, Brother Nashi, he was a healthy baby. He was really healthy. There was nothing that was wrong with him. But along the way, he used to suffer a lot from the colics. A lot of kids, they do suffer from colic pain, but as for my child, it was very different. It was very difficult. Usually when you would start to feel those colic pains, then you will know that throughout the night you will be crying. We tried all the medication that we could try, but it did not work at all. Then my mom back home, she then said that if we could get some monkey's intestines, the dried one, maybe it could actually assist. I said, how am I going to get them? Because as for now, I can't return back home. She then said that she was going to send those monkey intestines with my sister. So my sister, we booked a plane for her and she flew from Zim and she came to this country where I am. And then we made the charms, and then we started using those dried monkey intestines. And just like magic, my son, he was okay. No more colic pain, no more what. And he was very young when we gave him this medicine. My son was healthy and okay until he was 4 years old. When my son was 4 years old, that was when he started to suffer from a very rare disease. It was more like a skin disease, but at the same time, it was like it was actually eating him up. He was getting thinner and thinner by the day. We tried to put him on supplements, but still it was not working. One day when he was at school, he was in creche at that time, I then received a phone call and they told me that my son had fainted. When I was on my way rushing to my son's creche, I saw that they had already called an ambulance. We then went to where he was admitted at this other hospital. I looked at my son. I saw that the condition that he was in, it was not okay at all. There was just no hope. When I looked at him, I spoke with my mother back home and I said, Mama, I am about to lose my son. And as for my husband, if we lose our son, he's going to be destroyed, because previously he had been married to this other woman whom he met when they were still in university. So this woman, after the divorce, she was actually using the kids that they had together to control him. So I knew that if he was going to lose this child, he was going to be destroyed inside, because I could see that the bond that was there between our son and him, it was just love. And I knew where it was coming from. It was coming from that place where that woman that used to be his wife had taken the kids by force. And whenever you would want to see the kids, it was always one thing after the other. When I reminded my mother about my husband's situation, she then said, okay, I'm going to see what I can do. One night, she then texted me. She then said, oh, my daughter, what have you made me to do? I immediately called her because I thought that something bad had happened to her. When I called her, she was actually crying. And I said, Mom, why are you crying? She said that I am praying. I am asking for God's forgiveness. I said, what is wrong? And she said that she had visited a healer. But at that time, I didn't care about prayers. I just said, what did the healer say? Then she said, the traditional healer said that you are supposed to return back to Zim. And I said, it is okay. Let me book a ticket right now. I didn't even bother to ask her how she was feeling as someone who was a strong Christian. Now, her wanting to save a grandchild's life, she had been forced to seek the help of a traditional healer. I booked an early flight. I flew back home. I left my son. When I returned back home, Brother Nash, we didn't waste any time. We drove to that traditional healer's place in Chiweshe. When we arrived there, the traditional healer then said that it was quite an easy job for him. My son, what was troubling him, it was my husband's ancestors. That was all. We just needed to communicate with my husband's ancestors. I then said my husband would rather lose his own son because he is a Christian. He will never agree to communicate with his ancestors no matter what. Then the healer said, "Are you willing to lose your own son?" I cried so hard, Brother Nash. I cried, and my mother started crying as well. I cried until the tears stopped flowing from my face. And I kept on saying, "God, why? Why me? My life is okay. I am able to do anything that I want financially because I am able to. Me and my husband, we have a good life. We have good jobs. But why have you chosen this path for me?" We cried out so loud. Then I agreed. At that time, I didn't know what the traditional healer was going to request from me. Then the traditional healer said that, "I heard that you are a doctor. Your mother said that you are a doctor there in that country where you are working." And I said, "Yes, I am actually a doctor." Then that traditional healer said that, are you able to get me some pubic hair?" I then asked that traditional healer if he wanted my pubic hair. He just looked at me and he shook his head and he laughed and he said, "Why would I need your pubic hair? I have a wife. If I wanted to use pubic hair, I have daughters that are still alive. I have my wife that is alive. I will just ask her for her pubic hair. No, I want the pubic hair of a woman that you keep in your hospitals." I said, "I do not keep any woman in my hospital." She then said, "In your mortuaries, where do you place the dead bodies when someone has died?" I said, "Oh, you want the pubic hair of a person that would have died in that hospital where I am working?" He then said, "Yes." And this is what this healer wanted. For 2 years, Brother Nashi, I was taking pubic hair at the hospital where I was working. Then I was giving this pubic hair to my sister. She would take it back home to Zim. I was paying this other guy who was working in the mortuary. She was the one. When we would find out that there is a woman that would have passed away just moments after her death, when he is the one who is on duty, he used to go around with a small scissors. He would quickly cut off the pubic hair and place it in a very small plastic. Then he would give it to me. You know, there are those small plastics that they give you at the bank to place coins. Those were the plastics that I used to give him. Then he would place the pubic hair inside of there. It was not just the pubic hair. The healer also said that I should get him the toenails. So he also had to cut the nails of that person that would have died. I did this for 2 years until finally he told me that your debt has been paid off. My son is healthy. When I agreed, whilst we were still in that consultation room, he then gave me the mirror and he said, "Look, your son is now okay." I looked into the mirror and I saw that indeed my son, he was happy and he was speaking with his dad. And my husband was actually on the phone trying to call me, just that we had our phone switched off. That healer does not want any phones in his consultation room. He then said, "Farewell, my daughter, farewell. Just remember that you owe me." I returned back to the country where I am and I immediately went to work. For 2 years, I worked with this mortuary guy. He would cut off the pubic hair from the dead bodies that belonged to women. Then he would give it to me and then I will send it back home until I finally paid off the devil the debt that I was owing him. This secret, I have kept it in my heart and I do not know if I should tell my husband. My husband is a very powerful Christian. I do not want to tell him this confession. It troubles me a lot. I do not have anyone to share this confession with. Only my mom and my sister. We are the only ones that know about this story. Whenever I feel so tired in my mind, when I call my mom, when I say, "Mom, should I tell him?" My mom will say, "Why did you come to me in the first place? I should have left your son to die." I know that my mom is guilty. She feels guilty also because the way that she cried when we were in that consultation room, she felt guilty. She didn't want to do that, but she was trying to save her own grandson. Yo, dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by our dear sister. Oh, what a sad story, what a sad story.